You guys asked me about making a video talking about the different individual parts between EVE Echoes and EVE Online. There is some people that thinks EVE Echoes is EVE Online Lite, but this is far from the truth. The two games are actually very different, and I will explain most of it here. Boys and girls, men and women. I have been thinking about how to make this video the best way. But I think the best way is to straight up compare different parts of the games. I'm still new at YouTube, but if you agree and you want to support a struggling YouTuber to change the world in gaming, how to enjoy games without the need to put money into them, and have a laugh here and there when I release some funny things that happens, or if I'm starting exciting events, then all I ask for you is to subscribe and like the video, and maybe, just maybe, write in the comments if you want me to respond to you. So with that said, here we go. This is all more in depth in EVE Online. The first big thing about this is that EVE Online have the blueprint originals that you can invent and upgrade, as well as create blueprint copies. These copies are used with minerals and more to create items, ships and pretty much everything in the game for a decent disc fee. Skills exist that makes this job more profitable as well as easier to execute. In EVE Echoes we don't have blueprint originals. The blueprints that we have are drops. So the aspect of creating copies for profit is not in this game. But the building aspect is. Another major difference is that in EVE Echoes, the mineral prices for building stuff is relatively low compared to the ISK fee that everything have. So building items and ships in EVE Echoes are ISK demanding rather than material demanding. EVE Echoes do have things that EVE Online don't have, and one of those is inventing nanocores. This is a fairly cool thing where we can here use skins, pretty much like EVE Online, but also combine that with nanocore and change the colors of our ships as well as how they behave. This is a really nice feature that Echoes have. EVE Online also take rents for areas to build, so the more activity a station have, the higher the cost. So for example, building in Jita is quite high compared to Amar. In EVE Online, the market is to 99.9% run by players, at least they say, and compared to EVE Echoes, we have around 70% run by players. Now don't quote me on those numbers, I honestly just made those up, but it's somewhat accurate. Prices and fees in EVE Echoes are a lot higher, and for example doing market without the skills is almost impossible to gain profit. The market in EVE Online is living in terms that the prices for expensive stuff is more expensive. In EVE Echoes we have an issue of oversaturated market, mostly due to a faulty insurance system. So nothing is really expensive, because nothing really disappears. Everything that should have a value can be afforded by almost everyone. The only thing that is expensive in EVE Echoes is the stuff that is either new or very hard to get. Everything else just keeps dropping in value. EVE Online also have a lot more items to collect and resell, as well as several functional stations in many areas that due to how the game plays can be used to sell for profit. EVE Echoes basically only use Jita. This can be since the game is still new, but the way things works, there's also no reason really to sell anywhere else. The ships in these games are the bread and butter. And of course there are similarities with the games, but looking close to it, they're actually not that similar. First off, EVE Online has more ships than EVE Echoes. EVE Echoes is missing the Triglavians as well as some race faction ships, the crazy expensive tournament ships and some capitals. But EVE Echoes do have the Janjang ships, well two of them. The battleship and the capital one seems to be stuck in a wormhole, and we all know we ain't opening that yet. The ship slot layout in EVE Online is more different than EVE Echoes. For example, in EVE Online you have to think about shield tank and your painters, webbers and scramblers and so, because shield modules are on the mid slot. This makes preferred shield ships have more medium slots than others. So the Caracal has more medium slots than for example an Omen. In EVE Echoes all race ships have the same slot layout in their tonnage category, and both armor and shield modules are on the low slot. This makes EVE Echoes ships behave the same. There's no difference between a Caracal and an Omen in terms of slots. So compared to EVE Online where you might prefer one ship over another, in EVE Echoes that doesn't really matter. The items are also a bit different. Some modules behave differently in EVE Echoes compared to EVE Online. For example, the strip miners in EVE Echoes are mining everything automatically within the range of their ship. No targeting is needed that you have to do on EVE Online. Changes like this make the game very different, and many of these changes I do feel is really good. And even though EVE Echoes slowly get more and more stuff added, it's still some time left until we can start comparing modules and their usage. EVE Echoes have PvP nullsec space, as well as lowsec, but the game is protected in many areas, so it's a lot harder to hunt players. The lowsec guns are very hard to tank, so lowsec gate camps are a rare sight, and hunting in lowsec is basically scanning down storyline mission players. The nullsec works just the same as EVE Online, but I would say that EVE Online has a harder universe. In EVE Online you can die in highsec by suiciders, or if your corporation has been war decked. Also, lowsec have gate camps, and traveling through lowsec is quite dangerous, so the highsec island in EVE Online is somewhat hard to get to, especially if you bring heavy or very slow ships. The nullsec is nullsec in both games. One thing that comes with PvP in EVE Online, outside the nullsec or the knowledge of Concord, is the standing system. When you blow someone up in highsec or lowsec, you will get a lower standing towards Concord. This will in time stop you from free access in highsec, and to fix this standing, you need to farm NPC pirates or turn in proof of kills. EVE Echoes have none of this. The universe in the games are the same stargates, the same system, the same routes. We do have an autopilot in EVE Echoes that is superior to EVE Online, and together with a perfectly safe highsec, moving in EVE Echoes is easier and well designed for mobile. Also, the quite dangerous lowsec in EVE Online is in EVE Echoes less dangerous, but also less useful. It's basically as useful as that single sock that didn't appear in the laundry. EVE Online have a plethora of stuff to do, and there is plentiful of PvE content in EVE Online, and it's very nicely mixed with the PvP content. EVE Echoes as of now only got encounters, which is like missions in EVE Online, and anomalies with rats, and faction war games that you could say is a lesser version of EVE Online's faction warfare, but on a lot smaller scale, and different objectives. But EVE Online got missions, they got story missions, missions arcs, career missions, and yeah, the list goes on. And same as EVE Online, EVE Echoes got scanning. But it's not as complex, and with the complex, I'm talking about the mini hacking games. Also, EVE Echoes do not have belt rats at all, so mining in EVE Echoes is safe from rats wherever you are, even in lowsec and nullsec, and wormholes are not open in EVE Echoes yet. We don't have the abyssal sites in EVE Echoes, as well as we don't have the awesome Triglavians, but we do have instances like Dead Space, but here it's called Needle Space. Similar to EVE Online's Arena, EVE Echoes got the Ego Traverse. They work the same way, and it's a one-on-one until death. But in EVE Echoes you do not lose your ships in there, but you can play the ranked version, and that makes you lose 10% of the ship's value, and that is including the fitting, so it can be expensive. EVE Echoes, since it is a mobile game, we got the mobile features. We got autopilot even when the app is closed, we got easier way to make the ships do the things that we want to. Mining is also a bit more relaxed, as well as hauling, and in PvP, the game behaves quite the same despite some different features. Stuff like overheat is not in EVE Echoes, and other things like that is not of any concern during PvP. Despite this, the PvP in EVE Echoes is hardcore. It is not a mobile game that you just try out some PvP and you instantly win, nor does money make you invincible. Saying that, we do have some stuff that is as bad as your grandma's jokes and can affect the PvP outcome with real money, but not solely. EVE Online is a bit less pay to win, even if we can call it that. In both games you can in a way pay to excel and get better stuff, skills and modules, but that most likely will not be good enough when you meet someone who knows how to play. So there's not a way for anyone to spend any money in these games to be instantly a beast. On the other hand, if you're good at the game, some extra money can give you edge in the fight. Both communities is as dedicated and loving. Hate sparks easy when stuff changes for the worse, and if no changes appear when needed. I get the feeling that many of the so-called hardcore EVE Echoes players are former EVE Online players, whose lives have changed so that the computer is not available as frequent. A big issue that NetEase has is that they tend to EVE Echoes like any other mobile game, when this game would be better suited to have an MMORPG in the mindset. And nowadays EVE Online seem to have a very toxic community, while EVE Echoes, or more like EVE Online was 10 years ago. And EVE Online is always moving forward, but EVE Echoes is right now struggling to cater to new players. The mix between making a game for a 5-minute day gamer together with a player base that is harder than diamond is what makes EVE Echoes have issues. We are giving some mixed action in regards to how hard and unforgiving and helpful this game should be. A vast amount of EVE Echoes players agree on a couple of changes, still netties don't care. We can just hope that they understand what they have in their hands and fully utilize it. EVE Online does have its own issues. If you ask me, TCP have made a great game, but they moved some of the stuff in the wrong directions. And with the community today reacting the way they do, they also need to re-evaluate the future. But the recent years have not been that active in EVE Online, so I don't even know half the stuff that's been going on. And if you, the champion that's still watching this video, want to know, then I still work hard to change EVE Echoes for the better. Not to be EVE Online, but to take all the great things that EVE Online have and mix it with the EVE Echoes clever solutions. And in doing this, we can all learn and adapt for a new type of hardcore gaming. Fair mobile games that develops to be great games that players love and put money into it because they feel bad not to. Instead of continue with the predatory development of the mobile games today that makes you spend money for the most basic features and even more to have fun. So if you subscribe to my channel, you can be a part of the helping hand. And I'm not the only one fighting for this, I'm sure, but the bigger I get, the harder I can make a change. And you can together with me be a part of that force. Fight the bad games today and play better games tomorrow. And I see you guys again.